Why did the Beatles start as a cover band? Can you write a best-selling book with just 50 words? Why is art really theft? Today we're talking about the nitty-gritties of stealing in Steal Like an Artist. 10 things no one told you about being creative. What's up, guys? Clark from clarkdanger.com. Welcome back to our little book review show, where we're taking the best books out there and distilling them down into the best 10 points. The 10 points that we can walk away with and apply in our lives that make us better, fulfilled, and happy. Today, we got Steal Like an Artist. Again, Austin Kleon, 10 things no one told you about being creative. This blew me away. I bought this book expecting really nothing. I just like the cover and the title. It's catchy. I go back to it constantly, and it's a really artistic look on what it takes to be an artist. We're talking about artists today. Art does not mean a painter with a beret and a paintbrush in his mouth creating a canvas. The modern artist is anyone who's doing anything creative, anything you do in life, your passion, your hobby. Could be a musician, could be making videos, could be design, graphic work, of course. Anything writing, anything where you're the creator, could be building businesses. Be sure you're listening for your favorite idea and post it in the comment down below. If you agree or disagree with any of these 10 points, please post it down below. Let's get the party started with Austin Kleon's Stealing Like an Artist. Point number 1, nothing is original. I like the example of music and musicians. When you sit down to write a song, you kind of have this idea that you're going to create something no one else has created, right? That's the point of writing a song. But when you look at the top 40 playlist of what's popular, turn on the radio, you realize, man, we're kind of doing the same thing over and over again. That's because people like the same songs that sound like their other same songs. And once we can stop realizing we're not going to reinvent the wheel by creating something, nothing is original, everything has been done before, it takes the pressure off of creating. A lot of times we get the writer's block. What is that? That's saying, what I have is so important, is so original, I have to bring it in, it has to be perfect. Well, what if we remove that and just started realizing nothing's original, nothing's unique, it's all said before? That takes the pressure off, and now you can give your own perspectives, your own creativity, which is the unique part about what you're creating. And now you can embrace the influence instead of trying to run from it. And when you embrace influence, I think you get a way better product because you're open-minded to what other people have already done, and you're saying, how can I pull ideas from that? Or how can I do that into what I'm creating? And you have a better product, all right? So nothing's original, embrace influence, don't run from it. That's point number 1. Point number 2, everything is a remix. All right. Look at this. How many lines are in this picture? Right there, that equal sign. Well, there's that first white line on top, the second white line on bottom. You might just say there's 2. But of course, you probably already realized there's the negative space in between, also considered a line. In other words, that third line came from putting 2 things together. Everything is a remix. 1 + 1 = 3. That's how art works these days. So if you're gonna create something, graphics, music, videos, you're going to be influenced. We're embracing the influence, and we're creating something that's a remix. I just watched Straight Outta Compton, all right? And Dr. Dre, arguably the best DJ of all time, most successful DJ of all time, he uses samples. What is remixing? What is being a DJ? It's using other people's stuff, putting your own spin on it, and then now that's yours, all right? Everything's a remix. Even the most successful people out there remixed something and it became a hit. How we can apply this is not be intimidated by the originality, right? Remix stuff, but also go deeper. Identify who are you remixing from? Who are your mentors? We've already said this in other videos. It's the gold standard of the personal development world these days, but we are the average of the top 5 people we hang around most. Let's apply that to this. We are the average of our top 5 people we are influenced by most. Who are your top 5? Who are your mentors? Who are the people you're remixing from? Once you get clarity on that, it helps make up your family tree that makes you, you. You know, for me with these videos, a lot of it comes from Brian Johnson, Philosopher's Notes, one of my favorite people out there in this world. I had his program Took it to Hawaii when I was 17, 18, living on a farm, and just was working to these great ideas in books. Now I'm remixing that and doing my own take on it right here. All right, it's not original. I didn't even write these books, but I'm doing my own take on it. Another example, Tony Robbins, right? He came into my life when I was 14. Absolutely loved him. I will be the first to admit, I'm not trying to be him. I just love everything he does. So I'd get a lot of my speaking style, my tonalities, my points, my knowledge from his style. I've been influenced since I was 14 on him, so of course it's going to come out in this way. The point here isn't to talk about my influences. The point here is to show you that even what you're seeing right now is a remix of everything that I've pulled from in the past. Point number 3, don't wait. Start before you're ready. So now that we know everything's a remix, nothing is original, it takes the pressure off and we can start creating today. Don't wait. We need to start before we're ready, because as you will see in next week's book review on Outliers, the story of success, it takes quite a bit of time to get to the level of where we've mastered something. You don't have to be great to get started, but you have to get started to become great. Don't think it has to be great at first. Know that it's in the process of doing your art, your creative stuff becomes great. So we don't have to know who we are to create our art. It's backwards. It's in the process of creating our art we find out who we are. Example, if you're doing music, right? I love music, love underground, hardcore, Warped Tour, all that stuff. These bands will come out and sometimes you think you have to have this clear sense of what your music is, your identity, and you get so caught up on that. But when you look at bands like a Bring Me the Horizon, who start out as this deathcore band, and now they're on the Billboard Top 20, released one of the best albums in that genre of all time, it sounds completely different. It was in the process of being a band, of playing music, of writing albums that sucked, of redefining it, they found out who they were. If they tried to reverse engineer that and start there, they would have never done it because it could never sound like it could have. It's that whole process that turns them into the band they are. Life isn't about finding ourselves. You're not going to find yourself. Life is about creating ourselves. It's about showing up, doing the work, and plugging through. And that the way you find yourself is by creating it, is by getting out there, is by experiencing things. So start before you're ready. Point number 4, imposter syndrome. So how do you do that process of that journey of creating yourself when you might not have the experience? And, along the way of playing music, if that's what you're doing, or painting pictures, or even making these videos, along the journey you might kind of feel like a fake, like a fraud, like an imposter, where you feel like you're not there yet, and if people saw the real you, they saw behind the scenes, they'd freak out and be like, this guy's a fraud. That was, right there, word for word, my thought process behind these videos. I thought, you know what, I'm not successful. Why am I gonna talk about success? Or you know what, I didn't write these books. Who am I to give this advice? And I realized that it's in the process of doing all that you get the results. And in fact, I started vlogging on this channel, doing the behind the scene vulnerability. I post videos about losing my job. I post videos about freaking out, panic attacks, whatever. It's in the process of doing all that, people actually resonate with you more, and it adds credibility to whatever you're doing. So the imposter syndrome, flip it on its head. Realize that the imperfections, the vulnerability are what draw people to you. And that if you tried to come out all polished, all together, everything X, Y, and Z, it's going to actually repel people because they feel like you're faking something. So that's a constant theme on this channel, hopefully you see, is that we're not trying to be anything we're not. And I would encourage you to do the same. That, imposter syndrome, that's really your ego talking. And the only way to get rid of it is to kind of laugh at it and just keep creating your art, keep plugging away on what you want to do. Next point, steal, don't plagiarize. There's a difference. Plagiarizing is trying to pass someone's work off as your own. Stealing is being inspired by your influences and paying homage to them by doing something from you. We're taught in school that plagiarism's wrong and don't plagiarize. And we're taught that because we'll get an F on a paper, or because it's someone else's work and you need to do your own so I can grade your paper. But the deeper message behind why we shouldn't plagiarize, it's morally wrong and self-defeating. And this isn't a lecture on why, the ethics of plagiarism. This is saying that it's self-defeating because it's the process of doing, of influencing, of pulling, of creating your own thing. That's where you get the results and the benefit, not in just ripping someone else's and passing it off as your own. That'll always feel self-defeating and wrong, and it's missing the point completely. Okay. So when you're stealing, what you're doing is you're acting as if you're a mechanic, and you're taking apart something, a car that's already built, to see how it works and to learn how it runs together. And once you do that, you're able to put it back together on your own, and then you now have the skill sets and understanding of how that vehicle works because you took it apart. And maybe you can start from scratch and build your own vehicle because you now have the know-how on how to do that. Plagiarizing would be just taking a car, taking off the branding, and slapping your own on, right? You see where we're kind of missing the point. Little comedy here. There's a quote by Wilson Misner. It says, if you copy from one author, it's plagiarism, but if you copy from many, it's research. All right? So do the research, steal from a lot of people, and then ultimately make it your own. Next point, go deeper. Don't just copy the style, copy the thinking behind it. Conan O'Brien has a great bit. He says that all comedians, what they're doing when they're starting out, is they're trying to emulate their favorite comedians. Then they fall short, and they just kind of create their own style. Conan O'Brien, late night television host, love him. That's what he said. Another example, Kobe Bryant, one of the best basketball players of all time, said that he started by trying to emulate his heroes, trying to emulate their moves. And he couldn't do it, and it was in the trying to copy them he found his own style. Then he became original. So go deeper, try and practice the methods behind them, model what they do, model how they act, model their tonalities, model their lifestyle. If you are inspired by someone, go deeper and really, really dig in and research that. Number 7, write the book you want to read. Sounds obvious enough, but basically if you're going to create something and you're stuck on, what do I create? How do I even start? Scratch your own itch. That's the best place to start. What do you need that doesn't currently exist? Example on this, not to be too self-promoting, but many of you know I have a hair brand, Kegley & Co. My last name, it's not Danger, it's Kegley. Started this with my brother, mostly because I couldn't find a men's hair product that I really resonated with. Always been a fan of barbering and hair products, and I've used them all. But I wanted something a bit more natural, a bit more branded towards men, smelled good, really simple ingredients. Couldn't find it. They were all too salon-y or too chemically or whatever. So I started making my own after I came back from Thailand. You know, I was using products that made my hair fall out, and I started really researching my own out of a need to scratch my own itch, to brand something that I created, to remix a lot of my favorite hair products into something that's my own. And you know how I started? I took apart other people's hair products, tried to recreate them. And then eventually in that recreating, I tweaked a few things, and it kept getting better and better and better. But if I said, you know what, I'm just going to create something from scratch without being inspired or without looking at other hair products ingredients, would have been maddening, all right? That's not the way to do it. So scratch your own itch with anything you want to do. If you want to start a business, run the business you want to run. If you want to make an album, create the album you want to hear. If you want to be an athlete, model the character you want to see. And if you want to build a product, scratch your own itch. Number 8, the lifespan of a project. This is my favorite point from the book because I think it really resonates with anyone who's going to create something. Let me show you the graph right now. So right here is the life of a project. It starts at the top by saying this is the best idea ever. Whether we want to write a book, new public speaking event, new diet plan, new relationship, whatever, all right? It starts at the top. Then it goes down, okay, this is harder than I thought, right? Once we're putting in the work. Then we realize it's going to take some serious work. Then we get down there and we say, this sucks and it's boring. We stopped getting results. Things are fizzling away. Right there at the bottom, the dark night of the soul. This is either where we have the decision to quit and move on, give up, or to push through it. And if we push through it, we realize it will be good to finish because I'll learn something for next time. And then if we finish it, we realize it's done and it sucks, but not as bad as I thought. I love the lifespan of a project because it's really true. Think about any of your group projects in school, how they started. You probably had really, really awesome expectations thinking I could do that. And then you realize it takes so much work and you eventually finish it. And it's still a decent product, but you might not be as happy as where you thought it could be. You know, for My Best Journal, Ultimate Guide to Keeping a Journal course, lifespan of a project. I mean, I started thinking I could do it in a week. I literally thought I could launch, create, and start a product in a week, an online course. And then I'm like, man, this takes so much work. And the more and more I worked on it, the lower and lower I got. And I got so negative that I quit on it. I said, no one's going to buy this product. It's going to be a waste of my time. It's going to, sell 1 or 2 copies. And then I said, you know what? This has the potential to change people's lives. This product I'm creating, I'll prove to myself that I can do something and finish it through. It's not perfect, but I think it's 90% there. I'm gonna launch this, I'm gonna get feedback, and I'm gonna make it the best course I possibly can. And I can't tell you how many emails I've gotten from the people who have been involved in the course saying, this is awesome, this is amazing, X, Y, and Z changed my outlook. The workshops you had in there are great, they changed my influence, I'm going a different direction. I wouldn't have gotten a single email had I not completed and finished the course. And what I'm trying to say there is that even with everything, you're going to have the lifespan of a project. You're going to have times where you're naturally more motivated, less motivated, but it's up to you to push through and finish something, becoming someone who can finish things. And that's the more important trait than whatever you create, I think. My lecture here is saying be a finisher. And that's something I'm trying to incorporate is task completion. Being someone who completes things they start, not just starts a bunch of things. Number 9, this is write it down. In here, Austin goes over analog and digital, that, we live in a digital world, everything's on the computer. Even if you're doing something creative like graphic design, a lot of it now is on the computer. He actually has an analog workstation where he uses his hands and puts things together on pen and paper. And that, we've gone over the cone of learning in the past that when you actually physically write something down, you retain and you remember it way more than if you just type it on a note on your computer. You do. That's what research has shown. So one of the best ways to do that, maybe even these videos, if you're taking notes on some of these points or any video we've done in the past, like I do on other YouTube channels, put it in your journal. I talk about this every single video right here, but if you're putting it in your journal, if you're writing it down in a book note section like I show you, either in the course or on this channel, we have free videos on how to keep a journal, you're going to remember things way better. The last point is to simplify. Dr. Seuss wrote The Cat in the Hat with only 236 words. The best part about this story is that his editor dared him. He said, whoa, Dr. Seuss, you wrote 236 words. This book sounds like crazy. Well, I bet you can't write a book in 50 words. And he turned around, said, I can, and wrote The Cat in the Hat. Or was it Green Eggs and Ham? I don't know which one. But phenomenal. So if he can write a best-selling book, one of the best-selling books, children's books of all time, with just 50 words, imagine what we can do. Like, what's our excuse? We have to have the best words, we have to have the best punctuation, we have to phrase it right, stories. A lot gets lost in the details, and when you strip all that down, focus on the core element that makes it work, 50 words, we're able to create something. Another example, Apple. They were obsessed, Steve Jobs was obsessed with design. He wanted the iPhone to have only one button on it. They said, Steve, we can't do that. We need a lock screen, we need an off, we need volume, we need up and down. And he was livid. He wanted it to just have one button on and off. Took them extra years, but they finally did it with the lock screen, right? Or with the single button right there. They're obsessed with minimal design. They want everything to be streamlined and simple. I got some great advice from a public speaking teacher. He said, Clark, never give someone more than 3 points. Any more than 3, they're not going to remember it. And so if someone comes up there and they're speaking, they say, all right, today I got 15 points for you on how to change limiting beliefs. You're going to be like, oh my God, I can't do that. But if someone gets up there and says, I have 3 points for limiting beliefs, like, all right, I can follow 3. So in other words, when you simplify the message, it's even more effective. When you go from 236 words in a kid's book to 50, when you go from, an old phone that had dial pads on there to one button on an iPhone, it's more streamlined. People understand this. They like the minimalism. So however it is in your life, simplify it. Figure out what the core is. The last thing I'll say on this point is that, with creation, a lot of it is by what we take away and not by what we add. When you go to an editor with a book, you hand it to them, your manuscript, you're saying, man, I bet they're going to tell me to add a lot of things. Well, what I hear from authors and friends who have written books is that the hardest part about handing in your baby, your manuscript, is what do? They take almost everything out of it and they strip it away. And that's an editor's job, is telling you what to take away, not always what to add. So works the same way with your stuff. With these videos, sometimes I film them and they're 40, 50, 60 minutes long. And I'm sitting there in the editor thinking, oh, I should have said this, or I should have said that. And I laugh at myself when it's all done because I have a 20-minute video and sometimes even that's too long. So in other words, by stripping things away, you have a better product than if you didn't have it in the first place. Woo! All right, we are done. Those are the 10 best ideas from Austin Kleon's Steal Like an Artist. Link is in the description if you want to pick it up on Amazon. That's a good place to find it. All right, 2 announcements. The first is mybestjournal.com. If you want a place to change yourself in 4 hours, this is the first ever online course we've done. How to start, keep, and master a journal with an emphasis on personal growth and success. We have a lot of times and hard times myself incorporating these lessons, these ideas. And in that course, I show you how you can start coaching yourself by using a journal and making it the best book you've ever read. And it's really cool to have something to look back on 5, 6, 7 years and just seeing the progress of yourself. That's at mybestjournal.com. Second announcement is the 11 questions change your life. Ours is a great place if you want some more creative tools. Head on over there. Link is in the description below. It's the first one. Click that, put in your email. It'll get sent right to you. It's 100% free. Thank you so much for watching these videos, guys. It means the world. I love creating these for you. Being with these ideas, I think I'm able to really connect with them in a different way than just reading them or writing them in my journal. So thanks for watching. Let me know in the comments, give it a thumbs up, and let me know if there's a point you agree with, disagree with, or what you would add or take away from this book or this video. Next week, we are doing, drumroll, Outliers, the Story of Success by Malcolm Gladwell. One of the New York Times most best-selling books the past decade. So, really excited for that. Until then, I love you. Stop settling. Start living. See you next week.